freedom to say you can work a 40-hour work week, but you can't be a member of the union. That's not freedom.
Josh Shapiro. This is a name that I think we are going to be hearing a lot more of in the coming years. So he is the Democratic candidate for governor in Pennsylvania. He's the current attorney general in Pennsylvania, and he is very impressive. Not only in his ability to speak to an audience, as you're about to see, but also his record. So I came across a video of his over the weekend and was honestly surprised because the Democratic Party severely lacks talent like this. So I'm going to show you a clip. This is from his rally over the weekend with John Fetterman, and also Obama and Biden were there as well. Here's a clip from his speech discussing how the right isn't really for freedom as they claim they are.
You know, this guy loves to talk a good game about freedom, right? Let me tell you something. It's not freedom to tell women what they're allowed to do with their bodies. That's not freedom. It's not freedom to tell our children what books they're allowed to read. It's not freedom when he gets to decide who you're allowed to marry. I say love is love. It's not freedom to say you can work a 40-hour work week, but you can't be a member of the union. That's not freedom. And it sure as hell isn't freedom to say you can go vote, but he gets to pick the winner. That's not freedom. That's not freedom. But you know what? You know what we're for? We're for real freedom. And let me tell you what real freedom is. Real freedom is when you see that young child in North Philly and you see the potential in her, so you invest in her public school. That's real freedom. That's real freedom. Real freedom comes when we invest in that young child's neighborhood to make sure it's safe so she gets to her 18th birthday. That's real freedom. Real freedom comes when we put Votech in her school and opened up her eyes to the possibility of being a welder. We sent her to a union apprenticeship program, and we believed in her, so she started a small business right here in North Philadelphia. That's real freedom. Real freedom comes when she hires a whole bunch of people that were never going to have a shot before. They went on to marry the people they love, worship where they want, live in a community that is safe, live in a place that respects them. That is real freedom, and that is what's on the ballot right now.
All right, so I'm going to get to Shapiro's history here, his record as AG, which I think is even more impressive than his speaking ability. But, man, the energy, the ability to actually have a real message, to not only call out the bullshit on the right, but then to discuss what you're actually for and how you are for the things that they claim that they are for. Freedom. The idea that the right is for freedom, when they are the ones restricting the ability for women to choose what to do with their own bodies, when they are the ones that are banning books in schools. I've covered this multiple times. They have banned over 1,000 books on race, on LGBTQ issues, because to them, that is scary. You can't have anybody living how they want to live. They have to live how you want to live. Yet they claim to be for freedom. It's all bullshit. And to see it called out in the way that it was called out here is fantastic. And the way it was done, the way it was presented, with the energy and the charisma there, amazing. So clearly, I watched this clip and I was surprised. So I looked a little more into Josh Shapiro, found very little. But then finally came across a great piece, fantastic piece. I will link to it below the video, from David Sirota in The Lever. So he tweets out, "Meet the Democrat who does the one thing almost no other Dem does, pick fight with bad guys. I spent 3 days behind the scenes with the guy who could become Pennsylvania's next governor and who's already being floated as a White House contender." And based on that speech, look, we can't get ahead of ourselves here, clearly, but Democrats are in bad need of some new blood, and I think this guy is right up there with the rest of them. So his piece here, the Democrat who picks fights with bad guys. I just want to read a bit of the record here. And again, this is from The Lever. I am a subscriber to them. I think they are a fantastic outlet, one of the few places doing real investigative reporting and some actual objective political analysis. So this piece not only compliments Shapiro and discusses the positive aspects of him and his record, but also criticizes him in a fair way. So I'll link to it again below the video so you can check out the whole thing. But his record here is fantastic, especially what we are considering what we were used to seeing with politicians doing nothing. Shapiro actually did something with his power. So out of the gate as AG in Pennsylvania, he made international headlines exposing sexual abuse in the Catholic Church, not necessarily a politically safe move from a Jewish elected official in one of America's most Catholic states. Shapiro then sued one of the state's largest healthcare systems to force it to stop denying medical care to nearly 2 million people in Western Pennsylvania. A little while later, he successfully sued a fracking company for polluting Washington County, in the process exposing what his office called a systematic failure by government agencies to regulate the industry. Last year, he used a lawsuit to beat back Trump's attempt to help corporations weaken wage protections for tipped workers. Then came the case against student loan giant Navient. Despite the potential electoral risk of targeting such a huge company headquartered in his own state, Shapiro led the $2 billion lawsuit, accusing the company of misleading student borrowers away from a more affordable repayment program. Finally, this summer, he won a major redlining settlement against a multi-state mortgage lender and convicted one of the country's largest pipeline companies in criminal charges related to water pollution. Holy crap. Shapiro actually has a record of fighting the powerful, including ones in his own state, in situations that are not politically beneficial for him, but did it anyways because it was the right thing to do. I am impressed, as you can tell. It is not every day someone like this comes along out of nowhere, seemingly nowhere. I'm sure if you're in Pennsylvania, you're already very familiar with Josh Shapiro, but for everyone else, time to pay attention to him. This piece, I also saw this piece in Politico. He could be our first Jewish president, but first he needs to beat a Christian nationalist. And yes, so he's running against Doug Mastriano, who is a far right-wing MAGA Republican. He was at January 6th. He said that he will essentially mess with vote results in a presidential election. He will go vote by vote and decide which votes count and which votes don't. So he is someone who will absolutely turn the results of an election in Pennsylvania if they don't fit what he wants to see. So a very dangerous candidate. Caught on tape, Doug Mastriano prayed for MAGA to seize the power ahead of Jan 6. So you can't get any further fascist than this. We are talking about a straight-up fascist here running for governor in Pennsylvania with the intention of changing votes to Republicans if they lose the state in the future. And worth mentioning as well, since it is time to vote, nearly 300 Republican midterm candidates embrace Trump's big lie, analysis finds. So regardless of where you are, maybe you're in a state like Pennsylvania where you have a couple of great choices there at the top with Fetterman and Shapiro, or maybe you're not. Regardless of where you are, understand why it's important to go out and vote, to ensure at the very least you are not allowing these individuals to get into positions of power, because they will steal an election.